She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, I'm Dani Johnson. Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. Happy New Year! Man, I'm so excited about the time that you and I are going to have right this very minute. Has it been a crazy year or what? Right? Listen, if you started this year with us, January 1st of 2018, you heard a message about playing to win in 2018. And we challenged you every single day with content to help you win in 2018. And today I want to talk to you about what we've done together, what you and I have done together, the things we've accomplished together, as well as what should we be working on moving forward from here. So let's just get right into this. First of all, I wish I could just hug you right now, hug your neck, kiss you on the forehead, and just like sit down, share a bite to eat, which is probably what you're about to getting ready to do with some people that you love, that you care about, as we are doing the same exact thing. Throwing a big party as we bring in the brand new year and as we close out this last 365 days. When we started the year, we had set a goal that we wanted to have not a single rerun of the Dani Johnson Show. And guess what today is? We did it. We absolutely did it. We have provided every single day brand new, fresh show, which meant that we were in this studio and outside of the studio for almost 300, actually it is over 300 hours, far more than 300 hours. I know that just for me on my own, over 280 recording hours myself, not to mention the entire team here in our studio for the Dani Johnson Show that is comprised of many different people. Trisha, our show writer, Rachel, who's been the director and producer, and Micah also, who's come alongside and helped to produce and also direct. And you've actually seen him actually hosting the show, especially several times over the last couple of months. We've had our entire staff involved with helping to produce this in one way or another, and many of them who've actually been guests on the show. Not to mention, in the beginning of the year, so many of our clients who we've interviewed and bringing you inspirational testimonials to help spur you on to know that, man, you've got a powerful mind, you have a powerful heart, and there's more inside of you. Don't let anyone try to tell you how to live out this life called success, and don't let somebody else give you the definition, but that you define it for yourself. And maybe you did that a little bit more this year than maybe what you did it in the prior year. What else did we do this year? Well, we brought to you opportunities to help with the sex trade. We brought you opportunities to help build homes for Nicaragua. We helped to bring opportunities for you to pay off your debts, to improve your marriage. We brought content even to you about your sex life if you are married, which is the best place to have sex is in your marriage. Anyway, we also brought you every single Friday content about either family with your children and or with your spouse. We even talked to you in last January about getting yourself married. If you are not married, we brought you tips. We brought you strategy on how to get yourself married in 2018. Look at all the different shows that we have been able to do together. And if you weren't watching the show and if you were not participating with it, also if you were not helping to support it in some way by sharing it with other people or even participating with some of the advertisers that we brought on in the beginning of this year. And so I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that your life has been impacted in some way, shape, or form. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching this right now. I personally want to thank you for all the lives you have impacted. You see, every single time you have liked, commented, or shared this show, however which way that you've done it, because if you've listened to it on the radio or watched it on television, maybe you went over to Facebook and you found us at Dani Johnson Live on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and you started to share some of our posts, but more importantly, you started to share and even view the show from our social media platforms or even YouTube, and all the comments that we've been able to see you interacting with. In fact, just yesterday and the day before, I spent some time commenting on some of the comments that you've been leaving us on our show. So I am so very grateful for how many lives you have personally impacted by sharing this content with people throughout this entire year. And tonight, as we send out 2018 and we bring in 2019, I want you to be anticipating that you're going to see some new dynamic and fun things that are going to be taking place here with the Dani Johnson Show and, more importantly, with the DaniJohnson.com community. The community, you're part of that community and growing that community and impacting more lives. So first, I just want to kind of give you a report about what we've done together this year, what the things that we could actually track. And then I want us to talk about moving forward. What should you be focusing on? How should you be even fine tuning that life of success that you want? And again, not living it according to somebody else's design, but living it according to yours. So let's just get right into the impact of the show. We are just cresting at nearly just under 4 million people that we can personally track just from a digital platform that the show has impacted. That does not include anyone that we can track that have watched it on television or listened to it on the radio. Yes, we get cards and letters from people, even prison inmates who listen to the show on the radio, who have written us letters. I have stacks of letters from prisons from around the country who have listened to the show via the radio. And then not to mention those who've watched it on television, that we've been written by so many of you who have written us that are catching the show on TV. But we can't track that. We can't track how many people are watching us every single day or listening to us on the radio. But what we can track is how many people are pressing play through digital platforms via YouTube, Facebook, our app, the Dani Johnson app, and our podcast. Those are the places that we can actually track where you are watching this particular program. And so we're literally, the ones that we can track, we can't track radio and TV, but we certainly are being able to track anything digitally, just under 4 million people's lives that have been impacted from this particular platform. And I'm excited to share with you what we're going to be doing moving forward to bring a greater impact and move your life from being impacted to changed. And I mean dramatically changed. We have witnessed callers like Jenny, whose husband, actually, I'm going to cry when I even see this. Yeah, Jenny Williams, who called in on a spiritual equipping broadcast, which again was our Wednesday show, and her husband was dying. And she and he called us from his hospital bed. And Jenny and her husband were very committed to this particular show and being fed on a daily basis from the program. And so she called us, he and her, over the phone. And again, I had no idea that they were going to be calling. We literally just put up a post on Facebook and said, my phone lines are open right now, and we are willing to pray for you if you need prayer. And so anyway, so Jenny and her husband called in, and we aggressively prayed for God's will to be done in his life, and for healing. We were praying for healing. Well, God had a different plan, and it was ready for him to take his son home. And so Jenny was left with her and her 3 sons, who then months later, Jenny called in, and she called to share with us how this show has impacted her and her sons, how they've been listening daily, and how it's helped to give her life. She also was a beautiful contributor on a show where she was talking about how in the world you go from being in such a deep, horrible, grieving state, and yet you choose to be thankful. And there she was. I mean, she humbled me and everybody else that was listening that day, and whoever else has listened to that show since then, about how, wow, this woman has every right in the world to be so mad at God, to be so mad at the world, to be mad at her husband, to be mad at everybody for the loss of the love of her life. And so she was sharing that her and her sons, on a weekly basis and often on a daily basis, that they give thanksgiving and they remember on purpose the wonderful good things that their father and her husband had impacted their life with, whether it's very different teachings or memories or little sayings that he had, but they are keeping his teaching alive in their home. What an amazing widow Jenny Williams is. And Jenny Williams then came out to a First Steps to Success and a Creating a Dynasty. And God has been healing healing this woman from the inside out and learning to live with a hope and a promise for a better future. Her and I actually even just yesterday communicating together on Facebook, and even on Christmas Day, as I was sharing my story, my Christmas story of being homeless and going from homeless to millions, and how Christmas Eve and Christmas Day were the lowest of lows of my life and a suicidal day of many thousands of suicidal days that I had. And yet God spoke to me and turned my entire life around. So that is just one story. That's just one story from the show for this year. There are thousands of them. We can't even count, that we cannot track. But we know this, that because you have shared this program through your social media, because you've liked our posts, because you've liked the show, whether it was on YouTube or Facebook that you saw it, or was on television and you came over to our social media pages and you began to share it, you are a part of impacting just under 4 million lives. Now, again, we can't track who is sitting there with their children watching the show, which we know that happens. People send us pictures of the whole family gathering around, watching it on television. And so, again, these are just individuals that we know that we can track that press play. So we know it's far more than 4 million lives that have been impacted, because you also have what? Sat there with your children, or you've played it in your car while you're driving the kids to work. All the different ways that we know that people are listening to it. Again, the only ones that we can track are these metrics of individuals pressing play. So thank you so much, because you impacted lives. You impacted lives. Now, check this out. Not only have you had an impact in nearly 4 million, I mean, I'm serious. It's like we're a few thousand people away from hitting the $4 million mark. And by the time the show is over, who knows? Maybe we might hit it. Not $4 million, 4 million people mark. How I wish we could track better than how we're tracking right now, but we're being real with what our tracking is. And so the other number that we are able to track is our partnership with King's Ransom. King's Ransom, which you have given to, which you have helped to support, which you have given voice to. You've given voice to the voiceless with how you've lived out your life. And again, because you've liked the show, because you've, again, liked it on Facebook or loved it on Instagram or Twitter, that you've retweeted it. I said that so wrong. Or whatever, that you've reposted our show on YouTube, and or, again, radio or TV, however it's way that you've gathered it. Listen, what you have done, this is like so crazy, is King's Ransom has just had its best year. You heard a message in February about the tithe and where the tithe is supposed to go, that it is supposed to go to the poor, the widow, the sick, and the Levite, that it is supposed to take care of those who cannot take care of themselves, whether it is that they were born with certain handicaps that have put them in a wheelchair for life and they can't even talk. You've helped those kinds of children to have another day of life. You have helped to build homes. In fact, just under 500 homes this year have been built for the extreme poor because of what you have done. Every single time, again, that you're sharing these programs, every time you're sending someone to DaniJohnson.com, every time you're talking about what we're talking about, and you're shedding light on King's Ransom, that 100% of every donation is going straight to who? The extreme poor. It's not going to administrative costs. King's Ransom has a corporate donor that takes care of their 3 employees and all of their infrastructure and their building and all of that stuff. Their corporate sponsor handles everything with their expenses. And so every donation you send goes straight to feeding the orphans. In fact, just under 22,000 orphans this year in 2018, you fed. You fed, okay? Over 700 sex slaves have been freed this year because of what you have done. Remember, we started the beginning of the year that we have a goal to do what? To free 1,000 sex slaves from the sex trade. We have impacted 709. 709 kids have been freed this year in one shape or another. They've been freed this year because of what you have done. What amazing. Think about that. Okay. Next, we have had an impact on Nicaragua. The lives that have been fed. Remember the war that started off on April 18th of this year, of 2018? Do you remember hearing about that? And that the dictator in Nicaragua is shooting his own citizens. The dictator in Nicaragua is stealing food from his own citizens. And we're talking elderly people. I have pictures of elderly people like your grandmother, your great grandmother, who's been beaten by Who? The police in Nicaragua, because she is marching in a Mother's Day parade saying it's not okay for you to kill your citizens. Okay, we have pictures of little boys being shot. Widows are being made every single week. Do you remember me bringing that to you in April and in May? Well, this entire year, we have managed to feed tens of thousands of people every single day because you chose to do something powerful with your life. Because of every time, again, every like, every share, every single time you're spreading the show around, every single time you've spread any of our website to people, our DaniJohnson.com app, excuse me, you have helped to take care of new widows. You have helped to take care of new orphans. You have helped to take poor people who are now beyond destitute. Beyond destitute. They are starving because their government is doing it to them. And yet, you have helped to employ a selfless army who is risking their lives every single day to deliver food to these people who have been abandoned, who've been abused, and who have lost their loved ones, have had their children shot right in front of them, their husbands shot right in front of them. But you rescued them. God used you to rescue tens of thousands of them since April, since the end of April, early May. How amazing what you have done. How amazing the work that you've been a part of. You've also helped to keep a school alive down there that would have had to shut its doors and fire all of their entire staff and not provide food for all of their students. Because again, the government has been shutting down schools left and right. And this school, their government support was shut off. And you came in, you helped to sail in and keep that school going for this whole year. And that was not cheap to be able to do that. Over $6,000 a month in order to keep that school running and to keep those kids fed. And many of them, it's their only meal. Their only meal. It's 300 students that are getting at least a minimum of one meal a day. Because we've kept the school alive, we've kept the teachers employed, you've helped to cover those teachers' salaries. We've also helped over 500 elderly this year alone. We've actually retired somebody this year, an elderly, who's working and shouldn't be. And you have helped to do that. The list goes on. But here's the bottom line. You've also provided water, safe water for life, for over 733,000 people this year. So the grand total of all the lives that have been changed, not impacted. There's a difference between an impact and a change. These orphans have been able to be kept alive. That's a change. New homes that were built for families, thousands of them. Thousands of people that are now in homes because of what you have done. The total amount of people that we have been able, you partnered with kingsransom.org and with us at DaniJohnson.com, over 1 million people's lives have been changed. So there's 4 million that we can track that the show has impacted, and 1 million changed lives. So it's 5 million lives that have been impacted because of what you have done, because of you being faithful to this, because of you, saying no to your normal life, saying yes to a new life, saying yes to a new definition of success, saying yes to setting a better example for your kids, for your spouse. You said yes to being better at work. That's what you said yes to this year. And because of that, because of the partnership that we have together, 5 million lives impacted. Again, that we can track. I'm only giving you numbers that are trackable. I can't give you numbers that are not trackable. I can only give you guesstimates. We have thousands, hundreds of thousands that are pressing play in their car from CDs they've had. We can't track the books and the impact. I'll just tell you this. I had 4 women on an airplane stop me, ask me, "Are you Dani Johnson?" "Yeah, I am." "Hi, nice to meet you. What's your name?" And each one of them had told me that grooming the next generation for success had saved their marriage and changed their lives. They were ready to quit as mothers. They had not been equipped on how to raise their families. And they were deeply depressed. When I asked each one of them where they got the book, Each one of them said a friend had given it to them, which meant that they did not purchase it from our website. They did not purchase it from a store of which we can't track. I can't track how many books that Walmart is selling or Barnes & Noble or Amazon even. Meaning, why? Because we can track those sales, but we can't track who they pass it to. Because people are passing our materials, the Dani Johnson University, the materials that we have of teaching you how to manage your time better and how to pay off your debt, and our materials and our books and our audios and our videos of how to grow a business out of nothing, how to grow in your job and get promoted, how to make yourself more valuable in the marketplace, how to carve out a vision. Like all of our materials that teach these things, we have people, thousands of them, who have purchased them this year, which is how orphans have been fed and water has been supplied and sex trade has been taken care of. But they've also passed those materials on to their children. They've lent them to some of their business associates. They've pressed play to their entire staff. We can't track all those. So at the bare minimum, 5 million lives you have been involved with helping to impact. Our goal is 100 million lives by 2035, friend. Thank you so much for joining us on this adventure and doing our best to carve it out. Now, listen, we're not perfect, and neither are you, and neither is anyone around you, and neither is anyone around me. But we did our best to play to win this year. And there were some things this year that were really hard, and there were some things that were like mind-blowing. Like, for example, I had this some of us had little almost like a little fantasy, like, oh, wouldn't that be cool if? Well, I had that for Israel this year. Like, wow, wouldn't it be amazing if $1 million was generated for helping Israeli orphans and widows? At the beginning of the year, I brought a story to you of a woman whose husband, who was a rabbi, and she had 6 children, and he literally was shot dead in his own home. I also told you another story of a mother in the middle of the day. Someone knocks on the door. Little girl opens the door. She's shot dead. The mother is shot dead. The father is left behind with 3 other children. These things are happening, and it's real. And you sailed in to help. And so it was like, God, wouldn't it be great if we could do $1 million for Israel? We did it this year. How crazy. Another one, there was a goal like, wow, wouldn't it be great if we could hit our goal? We're moving towards the goal of being able to give $1 million a month away. That's our goal, is to give $1 million a month away. It's crazy. It's wild. It's astronomical. It's like ridiculous, right? Like it's almost a fantasy, right? Well, guess what happened? We did that in May. 1 million in 1 month in May. Total miracle. Also, could this possibly be King's Ransom's best year? Beating our $4 million best year that we had in the past. 5 million. We're right at it. 5 million. Over 5 million for 2018. All I can say is, look what he has done through you. Look what he has done through you. And I say that to say this. What will he do in you if you let him in 2019? So moving forward, there's some things that we're working on, wanting to simplify some things in our model that we can help our message get out there even faster and better. We also want to see you equipped to succeed quicker. We want our messaging to be more targeted to the things that you really need instead of what we think that you need. You see, by trade, I am not a radio and television talk show host. That is not my first profession at all. Well, I was a homeless woman, right? A few years back. But that hasn't been my chosen profession. But 9 years ago, this show has had a successful show every single year for the last 9 years. And I remember how it first got started, and maybe you were with me when we first got started, when we first got offered to be a radio show, a 2-hour radio show once a week on a station in Florida. And then they also broadcasted that through the internet. And then, of course, we made that show available on our website, DaniJohnson.com. So that's how the Dani Johnson Show got started. And I didn't know what I was doing right away. I hired a coach to teach me how to do radio. And I was a person who never even listened to radio, let alone deliver content on the radio, right? And so bottom line, line is that we started it, and it was just kind of a testing it out. And then they came to us and said, hey, the listeners are really gravitating towards the show. Would you be willing to do a second day? Can we get you on the air for 4 hours a week? I'm like, I'm just not so sure about that. And then I negotiated, and I said, you know what? My most favorite topic is God. Is there any way that you would allow me, because it was a secular radio show that also went down in the Caribbean. Is there any, God is my most favorite topic. Is there any way that you would allow me to do just one show that's all spiritual? And they said, whatever you want to talk about, you go for it. Let's test it out. And we did. And we started the Spiritual Equipping broadcast, which initially was on Sundays. And that became a huge success. Then they came to us again. Would you be willing to do a daily program? 2 hours a day. I'm just not sure. So we said yes, and we tested out. Again, all of this was through much prayer. Bottom line is we started 9 years ago on the air, started on radio, and then a few years in, it became a daily program that was also now on television in 17 million homes. We eventually got our radio program up to 100 100 radio stations at one point in the very beginning of the program. And so here we are, 9 years that we've been on the air. And as we are looking at our company and the reach and the impact, there's some things that are trackable and some things that are not. And what I'm going to encourage you to do in your life is I want you to take a step back for a minute, and I want you to look at some things that can be simplified. I want you to look at some things that you might test in the coming year that could perhaps have a greater impact if you were to simplify some things. And so there's some areas that we want to simplify, and then there's some areas that we want to pour more fire on and helping to change lives. And so that particular area for us is that I'm a trainer by trade. That is what I've been doing for the last 30 years. My radio and TV show has been a side gig. That has not been the forefront of our company or our model or any of that. And we're grateful for the impact that it's had. And so moving forward, we're looking to simplify the Dani Johnson Show. You've seen some changes to the show this year alone, right? Whereas it used to be, again, an hour every single day, and then we cut it down to a half an hour. Why? Time, friend. When I made the commitment to produce brand new content every single day for the year, there's only so many hours in a day. Plus, there's a couple of companies that I'm in charge of leading, running, solving problems with. Not to mention, you know how I feel about spending time with my husband and my children, right? Keeping my life in balance and not working more than 20 hours a week. And wanting to have the greatest possible impact of equipping people to succeed wildly in the marketplace. So moving forward, that's what I want you to do. I want you to look at areas of your life that you can simplify moving into 2019. I want you to look at some areas that maybe you've added things to your life that are not necessarily yielding you the kind of results that you want. You can't keep adding. It's kind of like this. You have a house. Let's say that your house is 1,500 square feet, right? And you have room for 2 couches, but you don't have room for 3. So you can't add a 3rd couch, a 4th couch, a 5th couch, a 6th couch, because there's only 1,500 square feet that you can fill. And so my point is that I want you to look at your life, and if you have somehow added too much clutter to it without purging some other areas and some other things, this is the year to do that. This is the year coming into 2019 that if you want to have greater success, you're going to have to get focused on precision. And you cannot focus if you've got too many things going on all at the same time. Some things are going to have to be cut off or simplified or shortened in order for you to be able to do it. Here's what you might find. What you might find is that you actually get greater results with doing less. And this frees up your time to do something else that will even have a greater impact than what the other thing was that you were doing. And so that's exactly what we're going to be testing this year. So you're going to watch the Dani Johnson model get simplified. You're going to watch the show even get more simplified, more streamlined. And we really want to hear from you, and we want your feedback on it. If we start hanging in a direction that you're not happy with, we want you to write us, and we want you to tell us that. If you go to DaniJohnson.com, you can contact us right there and give us your feedback. You can give us feedback on YouTube if you're watching it there. Come over to Facebook. Give us feedback even on today's show. Okay, so here's what you're going to see coming from us. We're going to do exactly what we're leading you to do. And again, simplify. You got 12 plates running right now. You can't possibly keep them all going perfectly. So what if you were to cut them in half and get really, really good at a few things versus really mediocre at a bunch of things? Come on, think about it. So moving forward, I've said that like 17 times. Here's what you're going to see from us. The Dani Johnson Show is going... Hold on. It's okay. Take a deep breath. You're going to be fine. I'm going to be fine too, I hope. I really want to focus on the part that we know that we're best at, and that is helping you to succeed versus just having a conversation. Developing new skills in you and delivering to you content that is going to develop your skills. Not just talking about debt, but showing you step by step how to pay it off. And then what if we take it a step further, holding you accountable? Holding your hand as you walk through that beautiful journey of becoming completely free, no longer a slave to paying off your debt. We want to put our efforts in getting results for you. That's what we're going to do in 2019. We want you to get powerful and profound results in every area of your life that you need results. So we're going to be pointing my time and our team's time, our time, more in the direction of training through webinars that you're going to see on a monthly basis. We're also going to point it in the direction of our podcast, and our podcast being more of a training and development of your skill sets with money, love, and time. Love meaning family and work, right? That's where you deal with people. So in the areas that we can help you develop your skill set in communications, understanding different personalities, kind of like the shows that you've been seeing that my son's been hosting here the last few weeks about the different types of personality gems. Did you see those shows? Did you love those shows? Well, what about if you and I are doing some training together in that kind of a format? So that's what we're going to be producing moving forward. So you're going to watch our podcast that's going to get even tighter, bringing you training and skill development. You're also going to see that through webinars. You're also going to see that through more Facebook Lives. So I'm going to put more attention on some Facebook Lives where I'll be able to interact with you and talk with you live, even bring you in a one-on-one conversation, because I now know how to do that, which is so exciting, where I can bring you in and I can handle some of your questions and help to solve some of your problems right there. And so that's what we're going to be doing, which means that there's only so many hours in a day. There's only so many resources that we have available. And if our heart is to help you produce results, and if our heart is to produce more results-oriented testimonials of you doubling or tripling your income, kind of like the Summers family did this year. Yes, the Summers family, who started at their very first steps January of 2018. Yes, who, yeah, out of his very first event, grew his income $880,000. Yes, in a month after his very first event. Okay, already by summer had already done 12 million. I know it's astronomical. He normally does 8 million in a year, but by July, he'd already toppled over $12 million, which meant that he was going to easily double his income. The numbers are that he was heading towards $20 million for 2018. Crazy numbers, right? And so this is what we want to do. We want to help you grow your income, grow, if you have a business, grow that with what? We're going to help you with developing your skill sets versus us just having a daily conversation. We are going to get tuned in to specific skills that you need, that you're going to profit from. You're going to profit from in your love life. You're going to profit from as a parent. You're going to profit from them in your business or your career and with your finances. And so if I'm going to spend time with you, I want that time in developing you as a human being to win and to win big. Remember, play to win. Well, we're going to play to win again in 2019. So the Dani Johnson Show is going to be moved to a weekly format versus a daily format, okay? We're moving the Dani Johnson Show again to a weekly format. Every single Monday, you're going to hear from us, so we kick off the week off right together, and then you're going to have other opportunities through our podcast and through webinars and Facebook Lives where we're going to be able to do more skill development and training development for you to help you get the kind of results that are absolutely necessary for 2019. So, I say all that to say this. Thank you. Thank you for helping to impact 5 million lives and changing 1 million of those 5 million, saving 1 million lives this year. You're awesome. There's no other community like you. So continue to share what you see happening in all these social media platforms, and let's set a bigger goal of how many can we impact and change for 2019. Thanks so much for joining me every single day of 2018. Thank you so much for all that you poured into helping to build this particular show and platform. We love you, and We'll talk to you soon. In fact, next week. We'll catch you next Monday. God bless. Bye-bye.